morning. Welcome back. We missed you last week, everyone.
I miss myself too.
Don't worry though, if you missed the show last week, just remember that we were watching you. So
we were watching our own show.
That's right. That's right. But we're not gonna talk turkey today, but we are gonna talk tea.
Why not turkey?
Which is the first letter of turkey. Long time ago, a student asked us, and this is very confusing for a lot of people, is what's the difference between green, black, and other kinds of teas, like oolong and white tea. There's all these different kinds of teas.
You know, I get the same question about peppers.
Oh, yeah. Right. And it's kind of a similar answer. They're all the same, but black, green, and oolong tea, and there's also white tea. It's important to know that they are all tea. These are real teas. These all come from the tea plant, the Camellia sinensis plant, which originated in China and then was taken to India, and now it's also grown in Sri Lanka, and they even grow it in Kenya. They grow it all over the place. But still, probably the greatest teas still come from China and India. And but it's one plant. I mean, there's more than one, but it's only one variety. And the difference in the teas is how they process it. So basically, when you process tea, what they do is they sort of heat it up a little bit, and they almost cook it a little bit, and it oxidizes. And the oxidation is what creates the different styles of tea. So if it's barely oxidized at all, it's green tea, and it stays green, hence the name. If it's oxidized a little bit more, it becomes an oolong tea, which is kind of halfway between a green tea and a black tea. And then if it's oxidized all the way, it becomes a black tea. And it's also interesting to note that the more it's oxidized or fermented, the more caffeine is pulled out. So therefore, a black tea has a lot of caffeine, whereas a green tea hardly has any. A green tea is like drinking decaf coffee. It has virtually no caffeine at all.
But the green tea is very exciting, though. So
yes,
okay, yes, something in there.
It's I find it invigorating, even though it's not caffeine that's doing it to you. I mean, there's a trace amount of caffeine, but it's nothing at all like having a cup of coffee.
It's literally tea. It's a tea, and the green tea is thiamine.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and it's very good for you, and this should come as no surprise. Once again, in my mind, anything that comes from a plant is probably, unless it's actually poisonous, it's probably good for you.
I'm glad you mentioned that part, because not all plant products some are poison, right?
Right. And fortunately, we've had people that have gone before us that have tested everything, so we know what's poisonous now. I have a personal taster, somebody that tastes all my food, and I wait an hour, and if he's still alive, then I go ahead and have dinner. But someone asked me once when I first became paranoid, and I said right about the time everybody started getting out to get me. But anyway, so teas are great. Teas are very healthful. Great way to start the day.
You can actually mix teas to get properties and plants. So tea is a plant, right?
Right.
So tea is a particular plant, but there's a lot of different plants that you can use as a tea.
Right. And
this is important to understand. A tea can be a blend.
Right.
Of leaves.
Right, and that's exactly what you get when you buy, say, an English breakfast tea. That's a blend of different teas from India and China. But there's also a bit of confusion, because there are what's called herbal teas that are made strictly out of other kinds of roots, barks, leaves, things.
And leaves.
Technically, those aren't tea, because tea actually comes from a specific plant. But we've come to know them as teas, so it's okay to call them teas.
But it's an infusion.
It's really an infusion, yeah.
So do you understand that there is many ways to eat obviously.
Right.
You can get the nutrients from many, many directions. You can
I
smell.
eat with my fingers, sometimes with my
Right?
toes.
I eat with
So,
my friend's fingers,
yeah.
whoever's around. But the plant will give you nutrients, the ones that are non-toxic. And when the plants are toxic, sometimes they are toxic at high level, sometimes they are not toxic at low level, and so
Right.
on. So everything is very specific.
Right.
When you eat food that becomes nutrients. Tisane, yeah, look.
Yeah, tisane. Yeah, that's the French word for basically the infusions. When you infuse some
Yeah,
kind of herbal material into hot water and drink it. So it could be lemon verbena, it could be chamomile leaves.
but it has to.
These, yeah,
Tisane must come from tea.
right.
But anyway,
Also,
so,
there are also herbal teas that contain real tea. Sometimes you'll buy like a
right. So
whatever it is flavored,
so
but it's got a base of tea.
the point is you can get nutrients out of all plants. When
Right.
you make a soup or you make
Whoop, where'd he go? Where'd Olive go? We lost him. I think this is a classic case of a alien abduction. I'm not sure, but anyway, Olivier's gone, so I'll continue talking. Yes, teas are very good for you. You need to be careful if. There he is. He's back.
So anyway, the point.
Did the aliens hurt you when they took you away, or?
No, I mean, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Still the probe is still. So nutrients are everywhere. Let's say I want to make a vegetable stock because we're gonna talk about this later, right?
Yeah.
If I make a vegetable stock, isn't it a giant tea that I'm making?
Right.
So
Yeah.
think about water as an extractor, and then yes, I was probed. I just don't know where exactly. I know it was done. So
Yeah.
you can extract flavor, you can smell, you can aromatherapy, you can get the oils, you can get the tannin, you can get the nutrients in the water. Some are water soluble, some are fat soluble. You won't get everything, but it's always about this. It's always about extracting nutrients and put them into a liquid. That's soups, stew, braised, tea. A juice is not heated, but you're blending nutrients in a liquid, right?
Right.
Otherwise, you get dehydrated and then it's powdered. So nutrients are always available somehow.
But with juice, you're usually using material that don't need to be heated to get the nutritional benefits, like oranges and various fruits.
That's what I'm saying. But
A lot of leaves need to be in hot water to kind of release those essences that are so healthful.
right.
And it's really one of the most efficient ways to gain nutrients out of food is to put it in hot water. I mean, like you said, it's like that's making soup. In the old days, when I was a kid, people used to boil vegetables a lot in America. They would just, if you were going to cook vegetables, you'd throw them in hot water and you'd boil the crap out of them. And then you'd take the vegetables out and eat them. And then along came, in the 70s, along came the people that were starting to think about health and nutrition. And they said, you know, when you do that, you should really just at that point throw the vegetables away and drink the liquid because you've just you put all the nutrients into the water and now you're throwing that away.
James, that's exactly what a stock is.
Yeah, exactly.
So the stock, at the end of the cooking, you don't eat the vegetables.
Yeah.
Right? You only keep the stock because the vegetables are empty because now everything is in the liquid. And that's exactly what happened with tea and all these tisane or tincture. No, it's not a tincture. It's a
all the infusions, all the different infusions.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything can be an infusion. So if you don't have, like, let's say you have a bunch of, when you put cilantro and parsley and all these good in your stock, you're getting those nutrients. You may lose a bunch of vitamin C and maybe some of the water soluble. Okay, but you get a lot of nutrients.
Yeah.
So in stock, and I know we're going to move to that after, and this is the same kind of the same topic in a way. It's a water-based extraction. If I make a stock, well, in the next subject. I'm sorry about but it's, you put stuff in there that you're gonna collect. So
Right.
more stuff to put into that stuff, the better it's gonna be. The more
Yep.
flavor and the more nutrients. Nutrients are flavors, and flavors are nutrients. So you need to understand that if the vegetables that don't smell or don't have any flavor when you cut them, that stock is not going to end up with a lot of nutrients or soup.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cook a really good vegetable soup with super vegetables, you almost don't need a stock, right? Because
Right.
it's going to perfume that so much. And the biggest problem I have today, and I'm sorry to take so long, James, it's just that people are looking for vegetables, more and more vegan and more vegetarian people. The problem with that is the vegetables have less and less nutrients. So I'm always wondering how do they get the nutrients in the end? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's not at all what the vegetables is today. Today it has got so much nutrients. I need extra stuff, right? And that's the thing. How do you make sure if you don't go to the farmers market is one of the aspects, right? It would be the best way to do, but after that, that's it, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, extraction time. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And none of this is to suggest that you shouldn't eat your vegetables. You should only eat stock, because vegetables are also very good for you because they contain a lot of fiber and other things that are good to eat.
There's a ton of good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just don't have enough of. They don't have as much as you think they do. And as I, we do nutrition a lot. We have people that are trying to figure out how to eat, and the problem with all vegan is we don't know how much nutrients is in those vegetables.
Right.
That's the problem I have. I don't, vegetables are great. It's just the vegetables we have today are not what they used to be. So,
Well, and like you said, if you can shop at a farmer's market
exactly.
or at a really good vegetable market that
Right.
works with small farmers,
Exactly.
and
And
by small
vegetarian.
farmers, I don't necessarily mean short people. I mean farmers
Sure. Yeah, and so vegetarian people have a little more guaranteed because they eat animal product at small, like butter, cheese, eggs. So
Right.
there's some type of there's more of a guarantee to get nutrients.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any. I don't care what you eat. I just want to make sure that if you eat only vegetables, you think that the vegetables, when you look at the content, it's not at all what you expect. So
Right.
it's
Well, this
yeah. Anyway, it's a tough one because you can't trust food anymore. So you have
right.
to figure out how to eat. Anyway,
I don't trust anyone.
yeah,
This sort of bleeds over to our second question, which is how do you make a rich
yeah,
and tasty vegetable stock? And this is
exactly.
important if you're not eating meat. Stock is such a great thing to make and to have in your
Absolutely.
home. You can add it to so many things. You can add it to sauces, soups, of course. Um,
You can
uh,
drink it like this. I mean,
you
why
can
not?
drink it. Anyway, a lot of people, a great thing to do is make stock and then put it in ice cube trays. So you can just pull out an ice cube of stock and throw it into something that you're
Yeah,
cooking. It's great stuff. But meat stock is easy because
yeah.
it's so rich, and you cook a chicken long enough, you're going to have fantastic stock, and you can roast the bones of beef bones and stuff and make really
Well,
rich, flavorful stocks.
we'll talk about this. I want to talk about vegetable stock. I want to talk about
Yeah.
bone.
But vegetable stock's a little trickier, and but it's really good.
Vegetable stock, no, it's not tricky. You you put a lot of stuff in there, like a lot.
Yeah,
That's all.
and I think the key is just to save stuff when you're doing prep.
Exactly.
Don't
All
throw
the
anything away. Throw it all in a bag. Put it in the
every
freezer
day.
and until you have
And
a big bag of stuff, and then you make a big pile of stock. And it's we do it in our house. It's really good.
if I do a vegetable stock, my vegetables are gonna be to that.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a vegetable stock. I'm gonna get those vegetables, and it's gonna be thick and very dark because I want nutrients. Might as well. So I'm gonna wait until I get so much. This is big for a house, I would say, but
Yeah.
don't make it too small. There's no point. You're wasting your time, and so you need to make maybe half of that.
Mm-hmm.
Make it really put a lot of vegetables. Vegetables are cheap. Don't
Yeah.
buy the cheap stuff. Whatever. Like get the bunch of onions. Onions, fantastic. Get some parsley. Keep carrot, onion, parsley. I mean celery. That's for sure. And then you can add. I like bell pepper. Not everybody likes that, but you can use also lots of greens.
Mm-hmm.
Collard. Um, Collards are good. Any salad that's going to go back in the fridge, boom, your regular,
Right.
whatever, anything that's going to go back. All the stuff, zucchinis are great. They don't. No, in my opinion, no cabbage because it stinks and when you cook them too long, it has this flavor, this sulfur flavor. But
Yeah.
otherwise, anything can go in there, and a lot of them, no starch.
And if
So
you're using the trimmings from doing vegetable prep and you've already eaten those vegetables for a meal, it's basically free. I mean, it's the leftover stuff. So you're making this stuff. All you need is water. It's just it's free food. So
no, exactly, Kenneth. That's exactly what to do. You have a freezer, you have a bag in the freezer. The same bag you keep loading, and when you have a big one, you make stock. That stock is cooled first, and then you're gonna put it into a little container of 1 quart max, so they can cool easily, and you can freeze them.
yeah,
Then keep them in the fridge.
that's a
Then
good tip. Toasting onion skins for stock. You can also take root vegetables and roast them a little bit on a sheet pan and throw those in a stock for a little bit richer stock. It's sort of approximating a bone stock that because you would do that with bones.
you can also burn the skin of the onions before you cut them.
Uh-huh.
That's what they do in Vietnam when you do the pho, whatever.
Uh-huh.
That's what you do. You burn your vegetables and then you make your stock. For the beef bone and the chicken bone, this is a little more important to understand the concept. When you eat meat, you need to eat the connective tissues with it, or at least some of it.
Right.
This is important for the homocysteine. If you have any idea what that is, that's literally what people tell you when you eat too much meat, which is true. You end up with homocysteine in your blood. Yeah. If you just eat protein and eat crappy stuff with that, then you're gonna end up with way more than homocysteine. It's gonna be a whole other issues. But if you eat your meat with vegetables, first of all, not starch. That's just my opinion. Lots of vegetables, and then the connective tissues and its own fat. Then you add something that's called glycine, and the glycine will be your binder. It needs that to be able to recycle to keep going. Homocysteine is recycled normally. Goes back to methionine and goes back and keep recycling and doing stuff. It doesn't end up in your blood unless you eat too much meat. Eating too much of something is going to be bad regardless. So
Right.
anything you take, anything. If I take spinach, if I eat too much spinach, I'm going to get sick. If I eat 3 buckets of strawberries, I love strawberries, but if I eat 3 whole cases of that, I know exactly what's going to happen. So,
Now you tell me.
yeah, see? So it's not the meat or the spinach or whatever, it's the too much of one thing. If you blend your food and you don't exaggerate of anything, you should never worry about anything. But if you eat meat, you need to eat the glycine with it. Glycine means connective tissues or a chicken skin or the cartilage, all this stuff. And it has to be in there. That's why when you do ground lamb is actually a phenomenal meat because it has a bunch of stuff in there. Tons of omega-3, tons of nutrients. This is really high in nutrients. You see, people are confused about those, but there's folate, there's omega-3, there's almost as much omega-3 as the salmon, for example. It's a huge amount of good stuff because the meat is ground with the good stuff in there, right?
I like omega-4s.
I like Omega, the store in San Pablo that sells those kind of great stuff.
Omega just sounds too final to me. On a whim, I really toasted sesame seeds to a veggie stock, and it was nice and hearty. I'll bet that was good. I'll bet that was good.
Vegetable stuff, good thing to add coriander seeds, rosemary, thyme, whatever herbs you have, just load it up. Seriously, the better it is, the more flavorful. You can put a little wine in there.
Yeah.
Give it a acidity. It's really good. Just have fun with that. Make a dark, thick. How much do I cook it? I cook it hours. I know you're not supposed to cook it that long because you have enough with 45 minutes or whatever. I'm going to cook my vegetable stock for 3 to 4 hours, maybe more, with the lid on. The lid on because I want to keep the nutrients. Okay, so
Right.
not tight, just the lid enough so it steams out a little bit, that I don't lose all those nutrients. Whatever you smell in your kitchen, those are nutrients, right? I want to keep those. And then you have to let it cool. And it's vegetable stock. I don't have any issues with let it cool for a night, right? It's a big pot. I can't do anything with that. So I'm going to let it cool for a night, and then tomorrow I'm going to put it away. If you keep your stock too long in the fridge and you forget it after a week or so, then you need to reboil your stock. And in restaurant we do that a lot. The stock has been here for 3 days. You just reboil the whole thing several times. As long as you reboil it, you can't lose it. So if you don't want to put it into small containers, if you like those big places because it's easier for you to go and get that, that's fine. Every few days, reboil it and put it back in the that's all you have to do. It's pretty cool, huh?
Our stock, we let it sit for a while in the pot cooling, and then I transfer it. I strain it through a strainer into a tall glass jar, and then I let it sit in that until it's cool enough to go in the fridge. But it doesn't last us long because we'll make soup. We put it in everything, so we go through it pretty fast.
Vegetable stock is amazing. Amazing.
Kenny, who called you out for using grilled artichoke leaves? I want names.
I want. Artichoke cannot be good in the stock. I don't see how to. It's too bitter. It would be too bitter. That would be. I don't think that would be. I don't think that would be a good thing. So he was right to yell at you. There you go. Kenny, you deserve what happened to you. I'm sorry.
Oh, Kenny.
We did.
Don't send the police. We're sending the food police over there right now. Alice Waters is the chief of the food police, and she's going to come to your house.
The stock police. What else do you put in stock? Bay leaves.
You know, somebody.
Yes.
This is confusing because somebody told me once that I should put my money into stocks, and I tried it, but they just got so wet and gross and smelly that I don't do it anymore. But people seem to do that a lot. I don't get it.
You have money?
Yeah, not anymore. I used to have money. I'll give her some of my stock, and we'll see how this plays out. Yeah, Kenny, the proof is in the pudding, or in this case, the stock. And we'll need to taste this to be the judge. So
no fats in the stock, and no salt ever. No salt.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the salt. The stock that sell in the market, they say low sodium. There shouldn't be any salt at all. Zero.
Right.
Because when you make a sauce based on stock, as you reduce, when you make a sauce, you put a pinch of salt. Sometimes you don't put any salt at all until the end, right? It's reducing. So you can't add salt.
Yeah.
It's going to be way too salty at the end. The salt doesn't go away. You have to be careful with that.
Yeah, you have plenty of time to salt your food when you're making soup or whatever you're making. I know we're Kitchen on Fire, so there might be a package. Great.
Last week I got a package that was about 10 pounds that was really well hidden in my corridors and keep making tick-tack, tick-tack, tick-tack.
Yeah. That was from me. That was from me. Just leave it there. It'll be fine.
Should I put my earplugs?
Look what I have.
Wow.
This was a gift to me. It is a bottle of tequila. Well, it used to be a bottle of tequila. Now it's just a bottle because the tequila is gone. It was very good tequila, but isn't that a great looking bottle?
Wow.
Grand Mayan.
What tequila is that?
Grand Mayan. A friend of mine, my son-in-law gave me this, and a friend of his brings it up from Mexico. He's always bringing him really unusual bottles of tequila, and so I benefit from them often.
Tequila is so good. How is it?
Yeah.
How's tequila made, chef? James, how is it made?
How
What's
does
the
what?
difference? What's the difference between tequila and we have 5 more minutes? What's the difference between tequila and mezcal?
Well, all tequila is mezcal, but not all mezcal is tequila. To be tequila, it has to come from a specific place in Mexico, mostly in the state of Jalisco, and it has to come from a particular variety of the agave plant. Mezcal can be made anywhere virtually, and it can be made from any kind of agave. There's about 8 or 9 agave types that they use out of.
So for
There's
mezcal, to make mezcal, no, to make mezcal.
To make mezcal, you can use any kind of agave you want, although they tend to use about 8 different varieties, one of 8 different varieties out of hundreds. But tequila, it has to come from a specific one. You have to use the blue agave, and it has to be made in Jalisco, and it's made a certain way to be called tequila. And it's a bit of a myth that tequila is the good stuff and mezcal's kind of the cheap stuff. I mean, that may have been true at one time, but there are plenty of mediocre tequilas, and more there are some fabulous mezcals made. The great thing about mezcal is they cook or they steam the piña, the heart of the agave, to make it. So you end up with this kind of smoky nature in the spirit. Some more than others. Some of them aren't very smoky. Some of them can be very smoky, which I like. It's kind of like drinking scotch in a way.
Yeah. So, so some of the one we had at Cesar when I was working there, one of them was the Tobala. Remember that white Tobala, the super expensive mezcal? That they said that there was only one plant, and that plant doesn't grow back for like 7 years or something. Once you So
well, that's true with agave plants in general. They take a very, very long time to grow and produce. So
it's a long process. It's a long process.
Yeah.
Very long. It's not like you can grow a vine every year, right?
Right.
Once you make your tequila, you have to wait another 7 years or something to like regain that plant. It's crazy.
Exactly.
So it's so that's why it's expensive, and that's why there's not tons.
Right. But it's good stuff. I like to drink it on its own. It's great for a margarita, of course, but I like to drink tequila straight.
Me too.
And there are aged tequilas, and even the aged tequilas don't get aged for years and years and years like you do with good whiskeys. They just don't hold up to that. So an añejo tequila is at most maybe 4 or 5 years old. They just don't.
But why is that? Because of the climate, not because of the alcohol.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So you understand? You understand that the climate plays a big role. For example, in aged rums are not aged where they were picked.
Right.
If they want to age rum, they have to drag them to Scotland or cold countries to be aged.
Mm-hmm.
Then they bring it back, or then they sell it, right? Because it's about the temperature. When it's in a wood barrel, and if it's hot, you can't keep that alcohol, right?
If it gets too hot, it kind of cooks, and it becomes a whole different animal.
Right.
So that's why scotches can be aged for so long, because they do it up in Scotland where it gets very cold in the wintertime, and it doesn't even really get that hot in the summertime. So and they're near the sea, most of them, so they can age those things for years and years and years and years. Yep. Good stuff. All right, so
we ended on the drink. That's good.
So the answer to all our questions today is yes.
A quick thing, guys: if you're drinking tequila and mezcal, and if you're adding a bunch of lime and lemon, this is absolutely a good idea. Why? Because you bring a lot of antioxidant and vitamin C. I know it sounds
right,
but it's very important for the liver. Friend, okay. So what is that?
Netta Spirits.
Is it good? Maybe we'll go next week.
Yeah, bring some of that with your stock, Kenny. When you bring your artichoke soup, bring some mezcal with you.
Yeah, let's ask your friend to send a bottle, and
we'll taste it on the air.
Can we call him from Mexico? Can he come to the show?
Yeah.
Why not? Huh?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, man. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, James.
That's it. That's all we have today.
Everyone that's watching.
We're going to have an ice cream maker on one of these days to talk to us.
Lush, our friend from downstairs, Lush Ice Cream. I'm going to talk to him. It's a very special ice cream, right? It's not just a regular ice cream. He makes it in a very special way. So we're gonna find out.
Yeah, it's very rich and creamy and wonderful. He's a bit of a lush. He's a lush, but
yeah, it's not milk though.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's okay. So
well,
anyway,
we'll find out. We'll find out. We're going to get him on the show. All right. Well, we'll be back next Monday. We promise.
Thank you.
And we'll see you then. Keep those cards and letters coming.